I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
Hi, Jade here from the Rawsome Truth. Today I'm going to talk to you about my time in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It's a funny thing when you're travelling. You go through a range of emotions, and I'd never really ever understood the range of emotions that you actually go through. Now, I have travelled prior to my big pack up everything and going overseas. I had travelled to quite a few different countries. In fact, in one travel journey, I went to 5 countries in 6 weeks. But I never had a chance really to go through all the ultimate mindset changes that you go through when you're travelling. I had only ever holidayed, and there is a massive difference between going on a holiday, getting out at the airport, dumping your bags in a taxi and going straight to a luxurious hotel that's fully air conditioned. You get your lovely welcoming drinks, you sleep on a lovely cozy bed, you don't have to pay for air conditioning, it's all on. You wake up in the morning to a beautiful buffet breakfast, a taxi picks you up, and you go from tourist destination to tourist destination. But when you're traveling on a very low budget, sometimes things aren't always as you had hoped, and other times everything's just amazing. But you also face a lot of things that you probably wouldn't have seen if you're just in a taxi. We do a lot of walking whilst travelling. So because we do so much walking, and I'm talking huge walking, sometimes we have walked up to 25 kilometres in one day. And we do that, one, to save money. And it's not because transport is overly expensive in Asia, it's just because every dollar counts. We are on an ultimate low budget. My budget is about $20 a day. So, and that's got to include my accommodation, my electricity, my food, my getting to the next place, so my visas and everything else. So you see a lot. You see a lot of poverty. You see a lot of animal cruelty. And it's not that animal cruelty only happens in Asia. It's not hidden as it is in the West. You also see a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. You see children playing on the streets. You see mothers loving their children. You see people working. You see animals everywhere, street dogs, street cats. And you really, when you look at them, they show you what Asia's really about. It's survival of the fittest over here, and they are survivors. So Cambodia, Phnom Penh is what I want to talk to you about. And I want to talk to you about the range of emotions that I went through from leaving Laos to coming to Phnom Penh. When I was in Laos, I was faced with a lot of poverty, and it really shook me up. It shook me up because I'd been in Thailand for 6 months, and you really don't see much poverty in Thailand. But when you come over to Laos and you walk around, you see poverty everywhere, and it's very heartbreaking. I don't think any human being wants to see another human being suffer. And there's so much poverty, and you know there's not a thing you can do. You may be able to change someone's day by giving them a couple of dollars to buy a meal, but you can't change the whole reality of what a country is. And it really flattened me. It flattened me like I haven't felt flattened for a long, long time. And I spoke to one of my friends and I said, I'm just so depressed, and I feel dreadful that I'm depressed because I'm travelling the world and I'm so privileged, and I'm so grateful for this privilege. And she said to me, Jade, people never talk about the post-traumatic stress disorder that you can go through when you are going into third world countries. And I said, maybe you're right. And when I arrived in Phnom Penh, we stayed in a relatively dodgy looking hotel because our whole plan was to head to Kampot. We were catching a bus down to Kampot. And I just fell into a slump. Where we were near the bus depot. We specifically stayed there because we were going to catch a bus. There was a lot of poverty everywhere as well, and I couldn't cope. I just fell in a slump. I had left my daughter in Thailand only probably 2.5 weeks beforehand. Then I went to Laos, and then I came here, and everything got too much for me. And I spent a day in bed just crying. It was just, ugh. And I thought, what are we going to do? So I said, let's just go to Vietnam. I've got to get out of here. I can't handle it. We walked over to the Vietnam embassy and we found out it was going to be 4 days to get visa approved to get in there. I thought, oh, we're stuck here 4 days. And I said, well, I'm not going to stay in this hotel. It was a depressing hotel. There's a lot of crime in Phnom Penh, and the windows just had bars all over them, and it was just a tiny, basic room. And I said, I can't stay here for 4 days. I'm going to fall into a massive depression. Now, I've suffered depression on and off most of my adult life, so I know when I'm falling into a black hole, and I didn't want to get so deep that it was going to take me too long to get out. I said, let's get out of here. I don't care if we have to bust our budget a little bit. I need to get out of here. So we had a look on the hotels.com and we found an apartment, and it was way over our budget. It was $45 a night, whereas our budget's no more than $15 a night. And I said, let's just stay there for 4 days. At least I'm going to get my head together, and we're just going to have to stay somewhere cheaper when we get to Vietnam to make up for the shortfall. And we'll cut back on our food and indulgences and travel expenses. We sort of Peter will pay Paul, so to speak. So we booked in there, and when we walked in, it was so lovely. It was a really lovely, lovely apartment. And I said, wow. Let's see if we can stay here for cheaper. Let's think, we've got a visa here for 30 days. Let's stay in Phnom Penh. My partner said, you sure? He's seen the worst of me with depression. So he said, and I said, yeah, I'm sure. I really want to stay here. So he went downstairs, negotiated, and we got it down to $15 a night. Yay, in our budget. So it was only 1 day we broke our budget so we could make up for the shortfall. I am so glad I decided to make the decision to stay in Phnom Penh. Amazingly enough, by the end of the trip, I said to my partner, I actually love Phnom Penh and I would stay here over Chiangmai, Thailand. I would stay in Phnom Penh over Chiangmai, Thailand for the following reasons. In Chiang Mai, I wouldn't class it as a third world country. It would be second world country, probably bordering getting to first world. Definitely Bangkok is. And it's very westernised. The malls are westernised. The restaurants are becoming a lot more westernised. It's a big tourist area. And it's very hard to get around because there's a lot more people. Phnom Penh stole my heart. It's amazing. I call it a rough diamond because when you walk around the streets of Phnom Penh, you see a lot of poverty. But underneath all that, you see real people struggling day to day just to put food on their tables. You see amazing things. You see children playing freely in the streets. Just how my generation used to play in the streets before we had the cotton wool bunch of children that we have now in the West. They play, they run, they play ball, they play soccer. They're just amazing. They're amazing people. They are very humble. They are very negotiable. In Chiang Mai, you couldn't negotiate the way you can in Cambodia. And Phnom Penh, it was just amazing for negotiation. Like all parts of Asia, if they think they can get the best part of you, they will. But they're very quick to go back down to the prices that they're supposed to be at. As soon as you sort of say, hey, can we have that a bit cheaper? They know they're having a go. We walked the streets of Phnom Penh and saw just such amazing things. I saw people trudging through puddles because not all the roads are asphalt. Saw chickens just like, this is meant to be a major capital city, and there's like chickens just walking across the street. Why did the chicken cross the road? It's just amazing. In back alleys, we saw a place where you park your car and you take your prostitute up to the room. You pay $6 for 3 hours. Here's the footage.
This here is where people bring their car in. You bring your car in there, and if you've picked up a prostitute on the way, you pay $6 an hour.
No, for 3 hours.
Oh, $6 for 3 hours, sorry. So you must have a lot of stamina. I don't know how many men could keep that up, but okay, you've got 3 hours. Must have a lot of foreplay. And you go in there.
We saw so much when we hopped on a bus. We went on a bus, just a public transport bus, and it cost us 1,500 ril, which was maybe 40 cents each. And we went from one part of Phnom Penh to the other. Everybody stared at us when we got on the bus because we were the only white people. Everyone else was Cambodian. But we just looked out the window and we just saw so many amazing things. We got into this town, and as we were driving into it, I said, oh, this is a Muslim town. And it was just an Islamic community. And you saw them riding their little bikes and walking into the mosque and walking down the street, and it was just amazing. Phnom Penh is a very progressive city. You can see buildings going up everywhere. The Koreans and the Japanese and the Chinese are coming over there, and they are building up properties. It's pretty amazing stuff. I can see that it's going to progress the same way I saw Ho Chi Minh 3 years ago was progressing very well. So Phnom Penh's obviously the next city to progress. One amazing thing that happened whilst in Phnom Penh, and this really rocked my world. We saw a little girl walking down the street, and unfortunately I don't have any footage of her. We were just walking down the street and she started waving to us and putting up her thumb, and she had a disfigured face, but she was a beautiful little girl. And I said, I think she comes from the deaf school, because there was a deaf school up the road. So we walked into the deaf school to see what we could do for the little girl. Maybe see if we could negotiate, maybe seeing if we could get plastic surgery for her or helping her, maybe. We weren't sure. But we went into the school and we talked to the principal, who was from America. And we actually found out she was a 32-year-old dwarf. She was actually born that way. But the amazing thing was, when we went into this deaf school, we actually found out that deafness isn't really known in Cambodia. They don't understand it. They actually think their child's crazy when they're deaf. That's how lacking in education that it is. And they actually have that stigma with all children who have disabilities. So a lot of time the deaf children aren't spoken to. They don't get to go to school. They're not educated. Their family only speak a few words to them. And that would pretty much be, go get the cow out, look after the baby. They basically treat them like a servant. And some of them are even disowned because they don't want that stigma on their family. Now, I don't want anyone to put judgments on the Cambodian people for that, because it's lack of education, and these kind of things happened in Western worlds many, many years ago. Not now, because we have acceptance, but people used to throw their children into homes because it was keep it quiet. Well, it's just a similar thing. They're just not as advanced as where we are today. But this man has been in Phnom Penh for 9 years, and he takes in adult deaf people. He educates them, he teaches them a skill, he teaches them sign language, he gives them a deaf community, and he puts them in homes, which is put together by the money is funded by a lot of charities throughout the world, and that to me was just amazing. It was amazing to meet such a wonderful man who's doing such wonderful things for the Deaf Society. And there's also another one run by somebody else who does it for deaf children. So bit by bit there will be that education for it in Cambodia, which it takes amazing people to make changes. That was just such a special thing for me to find out what was going on in a third world. The last thing that was so special to me was I went to a traditional picnic, and that was amazing. And I love the freedom of the Cambodians. I love how free they are. They just sit back and they enjoy each other's company. There was no mobile phones. There was no getting on the phones, talking to other people on Facebook. It was just enjoying each other, enjoying simple food, and just loving life the way we should love life. So that was amazing too. Cambodia is just an amazing country. I am leaving to go to Siem Reap, where I will be there for 30 days, but I have enjoyed every minute of my 30 days in Phnom Penh, and I recommend for anybody who chooses to go to Phnom Penh, don't judge the book by its cover, because if you judge Phnom Penh by its cover, it looks like a dump. As I said when I first arrived, I said it's a friggin' dump. But underneath all the rubbish and the smells and everything else, it's an amazing, beautiful place with beautiful people. And it would be a sad thing for you to only go there for a few days and not enjoy it and love it the way I did. Phnom Penh stole my heart. I will see you in Siem Reap. Bye for now.